Big game. Big game.
Yeah. Relegation battle, eh?
It is. People will be confused what we're talking about. I'm a Gooner. Alex supports Newcastle, and we have to finish the podcast within the next 25 minutes so we can watch the game.
Yeah.
What's your prediction?
2-1 Arsenal.
You reckon we'll score 2 goals?
Yeah, but we'll only score 1 if we're lucky. I don't know, really. The way Newcastle are playing, I don't know. Bit demoralising watching them, innit? It's like, well, I've seen the team he's put out and he's gone for it, but I don't know. It's still, it's not a team I would have picked anyway, but that. It's he's gone 4-4-2, but he's still got Joe Linton in the team, and he's absolutely pony.
He's pony.
He's awful.
Is he going to park the bus, do a low press, whatever they call it, a low block?
No, not a Mourinho. No, I don't get it. I really don't. I think that COVID thing's hit him quite bad because there's people like Shah and other good players. They're not even on the bench, so I think they're obviously that COVID's taking quite an issue with them.
What happened with Newcastle then with the COVID?
I think the training ground caught it, and there's like 7 or 8 players all got it, and there's still the best player's still out now. That Alan St. Maximin, the one on the wing. Yeah, he's been out 7 weeks with it.
Has he really?
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? Yeah, and then there's one of the defenders, that Federico Fernandez. He can only play like 1 game a week, and Lascelles has come back for half a game against Arsenal in the FA Cup. But I think he's starting tonight, so he'll only probably play 70 minutes. So I just think it just knackers them. Just drains them. They can't train properly and all sorts.
It's weird because some players test positive and don't have any symptoms, and they're playing like 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
And like I said, that what's his name? Alan
St. Maximin.
Yeah, so I didn't realise he's been out for 7 weeks.
Yeah. We haven't won a game since he's been out.
Do you reckon they'll keep hold of him in the summer?
Well, yeah, I think so, because he ain't played, has he? So who's going to buy him if he's got COVID? Knackered by it.
Knackered by COVID. I'll tell you what, it's a good job we've got the football to talk about, because fishing-wise, we've got very little to discuss this evening. So first of all, I suppose we ought to include the football in the beginning of the podcast and just welcome everybody to Tales from the Tackle Shop. I have, like last week, I've completely forgotten what episode we're on. It's 15 or 16? No, I think it's 15. I can't remember.
I reckon it's 17.
Do you?
I don't know, I ain't got a clue.
Anyway, we ought to have a little wager on tonight's match. What are you going for? £1?
£1?
That's all I can afford.
Well, I think Arsenal are going to beat it, so...
I'm going to go for the draw.
Draw, eh? What, 0-0? Yeah. Again? It won't be many goals, I don't think.
No. I think it'd be 1-1.
Really?
Yeah. What are you going to go for?
I think it's 2-1 Arsenal.
All right, I'll tell you what, we'll have a quid on it. If it's 1-1, you owe me a quid. If it's 2-1 Arsenal, I owe you a quid. How about that?
All right.
Or a big red maggot.
Half a pint of big red maggots.
We're the last of the big spenders.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. Right. What do you know then? What's been going on in Alex's world in the last week? Oh, you look east.
Yeah, we had that, yeah.
So what happened? What happened there then with Look East?
Basically, I think they've run out of things to cover in the local news, I think. That's what it is. I think, I don't know, I think they've just sort of cottoned on to the fact that fishing and football, elite football, is the only thing that can happen. So, I think Becky did an interview with the guy on Zoom, and then I had a telephone phone call from Radio Cambridgeshire just talking about fishing and how it's sort of been one of the positives with COVID. So that's about it really, mate. Bit more coverage, which is nice, and as long as people don't travel too far, that's the aim of the game, really.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the clip that you sent me because the one you were on before Christmas, weren't you? At November time.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
But I couldn't.
yeah.
I tuned in to watch that one as it was being broadcast, but for some bizarre reason, I get look north here. I don't know
Mm.
why.
Well, you are more northern there than we are, so.
I reckon well, we both live in the same town, mate. I don't know. How's that work?
Yeah, I think it depends, doesn't it, on your TV and that.
I ain't got a clue. So I missed that one, but I saw this clip and it was quite good, wasn't it? But um,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So look, maybe Rookery Waters and Tackle and Baits need to be sponsored by Look East.
yeah,
Yeah, they've been
yeah.
down
I got
twice.
my van. I got my van in the background there. Nice little shot, tackle and baits.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
good. I'm more, but being quite serious about it though, it's great that places are able to stay open, but like you just said, people just got to be wary of the travel restrictions, haven't they?
yeah, yeah. To be
Yeah.
fair, with everyone that's been, as far as we know, obviously, is all local people, which is good. You know, as long
That's
as it
right.
keeps like that, that's
Yeah.
good.
If anyone's listening to
Um,
us this week and woe betide them didn't listen to last week. Last week we went over the guidelines from Angling Trust, and off the top of my head, because I read them out last week, off the top of my head, it was if you're going to fish, it has to be something very local, doesn't it?
yeah,
Within just a few very short few miles of where you live. If you don't have anything on your doorstep, then you have to take another form of exercise. So people just need to be wary of that. But I think most people are doing it very well by the looks of things.
yeah. I think so, mate.
Cool.
What else I do?
Have you been fishing?
No, no, no. We had what did we have? Oh, Wednesday we had some fish delivered for the new lake. So that was good. Put them in. They all went in nice. Some nice chunky mirrors.
What sort of size were they?
They're probably £1 to £3.
Oh, right, nice.
Um, yeah, nice stamp. And then we've got some F1s coming this Wednesday or Thursday. They were meant to come at the weekend, but because of the ice and that, they couldn't get them out of the stock pond. So, yeah, got a busy few days with the lake, and yes, don't know, it's coming on nicely over there at the minute. So,
How many did you have put in last week?
£2,000 in weight of carp
Right, okay.
come last week.
So about 1,000 fish.
Yeah, I reckon so. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
How many F1s have
Plenty
you
of
got
room.
ordered?
Similar
Right.
amount.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's decent sized lake. Well, it's a big lake. It's 25 pegs, but it's sort of 25 metres wide. So it's a bit different to what we've got there. You can chuck a feeder or pellet waggler and that in the summer, and yeah, I just think it's a bit different. You know, all the lakes are slightly different. Then you know, you got Brook, Magpie, which is more islands and lilies, and then you've got obviously the two canal lakes, Raven and Jay, and then now obviously Crow. So yeah, all good, mate. All good.
Yeah. I'll have to try and pop down at some point, have a look when we're allowed to.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, you borrowed a camera as well,
Yeah.
didn't you? You did. How did that go?
Yeah. About as well as all my about as good as this, basically. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that.
What you've done, you've been awesome. You've done 3 videos. We won't tell people what the other 2 are, but tonight we're going to use the pole float video, I believe.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Is that the one you wanted to use first?
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but you explained a lot of the pole floats that you would use locally at the minute.
Yeah, that I use. The old eBay orders are coming in again. Just click that off there. Yeah, so just what I use basically. My rigs are there. Whereabouts I use them, what depths of water, what conditions. Obviously, there isn't one rig that does all of it. I think the internet's just come back in because I've got a million eBay orders come through. Yeah, so it's just video explaining where in the peg I use the rigs and, like I say, different conditions and that, and hopefully people find it a bit interesting and why I use that particular float for them, for that scenario.
Well, I'll give a little hint to everybody. You explained it beautifully, and you did talk about a lot of floats. So I think it might be an opportune time to take us straight into pole floats. So here's a short audio for those who are listening on the audio podcast, and those watching on YouTube. We've got the video side as well. So here's Alex with his Fenland pole floats.
Sticking with the local theme, obviously with the COVID restrictions, I'm in my shop. I thought it'd be a good idea to do some videos on the floats that I use and, you know, where I use them basically. Like every shop, we've got tons and tons of pole floats. We do cater for obviously commercial fishing, being on a commercial fishery, but we do carry a vast amount of sort of niche floats for this area. So we're going to talk through those, what we sort of stock and what I use and why I use them in the video. First things first, we're going to talk about basically March as a rule of thumb. March, Benwick, they're all very similar in the way we approach the drains. Normally you've got a line at say 7-8 metres, 4 to 5 foot deep, and I'll start there with what rigs I'd use. So normally the approach would be a ground bait pinky approach, either loose feed in squats or pinkies over the top. So normally we start with a couple of balls of ground bait or bread, depending on the venue. So for my bread floats, I use, when it's not flowing, I use one of these Reeve 123 floats. They're a fibre bristle, slim profile, wire stem, and I only generally use these for bread fishing, for town wellens, perfect. And I do use them on the whip as well, just for the body shape. They fish nice, they're really fine bristle, so you can read every indication. You can sort of, they're good when you're lowering your rig with what we call a real positive rig with all your shot just above a 5-inch hook length. You can just drop it in, it fishes straight away, and you see your bites, whether it's a lift where they've picked it up on the drop or a nice gentle dip, and away you go. So that's a float where I'm using to drop the rig in. A float where I'm using sort of to lay the rig in. So example of that would be a float like these, which is a wire stem, is that teardrop rugby ball shape. That's a fibre bristle. I either use these two Batinis or I use a Drennan SF2, which are plastic bristle, basically the same idea. You can lay your rig in, hold it tight and let your droppers fish, settle, and away you go. These are particularly good. They're a little bit longer than an SF2 when there's a bit more wind on, and they're just more stable in that wind, which obviously the drains do get affected quite badly with wind. Normally after Christmas the wind comes and ruins everything. So that's a float pattern that I use along with an SF2, which everyone's seen, a brilliant float. Another float that I use, so in slightly shallower venues, is an MP1, which is that similar body shape, fibre bristle. It's that teardrop body shape. I mean, I've still got some of the original ones that Polly did, probably at least 15 years ago now. Same principle, wire stem, fibre bristle. Brilliant with a back shot, these rigs, these floats. Just gets through that skim. So they go in from 2x10 up to 12x10. So in 4 or 5 foot of water, I'll be looking at sort of 7x10, 12x10 really, 5x10 if the conditions were favourable. And going back to the SF2s and the two Batinis, you're looking at sort of from 0.4 up to a gram on this line. Just because you could be more positive. The fish feel confident in that deeper part of the river or drain to start off with. Normally the fish will back off them, and this is the line that I enjoy fishing the most on all the drains. It's normally a line at 11 metres where you loose feed in squats or pinkies, or sometimes you just cup in a ball of ground bait and fishing it out, but you're probably looking to fish this in probably 2.5 feet of water. So your rigs tend to be, the floats tend to be shorter. So rule of thumb, one of the most popular floats that I use is a Colmick Senna. So they're a plastic bristle, wire stem, 4x12, 4x14, they even go down to 4x8 if you want to be really, really technical and fine. I just snip the bristles just slightly. That just helps them fish a bit quicker, because most of the time you're fishing these on a tight line, so you're holding it, and then as it settles, that's when it carries on going. So that is probably one of my go-to floats. A lot of the time this year I've been using float pattern, which is sort of exclusive to us at Tackle and Baits, and that's the Trill float. Trill, obviously hemp. The good thing about these floats is you can dot them down to a pimple and they fish exactly the same. They're a cane bristle and not decent wire stem. It's not a flimsy wire stem. They just fish the same as the Sennas, but you can use a bit more variety of baits on these because of the buoyancy. You can use hemp, you can use double pinky, maggots, especially earlier on in the season, sort of October through to probably end of November, start of December, when the fishing's really good on the drains, when they're really hungry. These floats are better because they're a bit more positive, they fish in the skin better. Again, if you on one rig, say you're catching on pinkies and squats, and then you want to catch on hemp, you can just take a number 12 off and you can fish a bit of hemp absolutely perfect. So that line there's lots of rigs I've got for that. They've been my go-to this year, the Sennas and the Tackle and Baits Trill. But another very popular pattern is Baisies. I do use them quite a bit. They tend to be just my hemp floats. I normally have one of these on a nice strung out style rig on a decent lash for all the drains, because you're going over in that shallower water. You don't want to be spooking them. You want a slightly softer elastic, so when you strike you haven't got the fish splashing here, there and everywhere, especially on them better stamp fish. It's a bit different when there's loads and loads of little ones, but on them bigger stamp fish. So this float I tend to use on the hemp as well, when I want to hold it back dead still over that, especially when you put a pot of hemp in and you want to hold it, and sometimes that produces the bigger fish. Normally on hemp you'll catch them as the rig's falling and settling, it'll carry on going, but sometimes you can catch it just holding it dead still, and that's the rig I'd use for that. Going back to an alternative to the Sennas, these are particularly good after Christmas when the bites are a bit more shy, a bit more tentative. And then obviously the Siwai, Car and Squat, very similar to the Trill, decent bristle, you can see them, they fish really nice, decent wire as well. So there would be probably doing the similar job. Both very good floats for probably before Christmas, when you're being really aggressive and catching lots of fish. And then after Christmas you'd use Sennas, and then these in the standard Squat, which are a little hollow bristle. So they're my sort of 11 metre line, loose feeding line, up to sort of depths of about 2 or 3 foot. Now sometimes when we do get a lot of water, the drains do run, and when they do run quite hard. And a float that I use for that, in that particular depth of water, probably 2 to 3 foot, is the KC or Daiwa Carper shorts. So these are fibre bristle, so the bite, they're quite sensitive. You can fish them with a long line. When it's really flowing, you can get your pole tip under the water and you can just itch them through really nicely. They're not a real big float, that's why they're called shorts, but if you used to use, say, a Graham Jolly or something like that, that's a big float in that depth of water. So I prefer these when it's flowing. You can just hold back and just itch it through nicely. You can use a back shot with them. So they're a very good float. You could even use them on your 8 metre line as well. So it covers you for a bit of everything. Another pattern of float that I use quite a lot is this pattern here, which is the Colmic, I can't remember what that's called now. I think this float is now discontinued, but they've brought a new one out to replace it, which is this one here, which is a Frank. I use these for either holding back because of the body shape again, or I use these for caster fishing or hemp fishing in a bit deeper water. So for example, I fish Ramsey St Mary's quite a bit, and there's a lot of caster fishing on there. It's probably about 6 to 7 foot deep, and you're sort of cupping in casters, fishing it out, and these are just perfect for that. You can fish them on the drop. I even use these in Ireland, fishing off the bottom with casters. Again, you've got a bit of a body there to hold back to keep that tight line, and then everything just falls into place and fishes nice. So yeah, Dudas, Colmic Dudas they are. I think they're now discontinued, but the replacements are the Franks, which are very popular. So that's a brief selection of the rigs that I use on the drains. Hope it's not too complicated for you, but a lot of these floats do the same jobs, but just different bristles, different materials, fish differently in different conditions. So those are my go-to rigs for the local drains.
So hopefully, guys, you found that interesting, and even though it was on the end of the video, so guys on YouTube will have seen how to purchase these pole floats. Alex, can you just explain to everybody the best way of contacting you?
Yeah, so best way is just telephone me direct in the shop, and we can go around pick you if there's any floats that you need, or if there's any questions you want to ask me. Just give us a ring on the Tackle Shop number 07824 878492, and go from there. Really, I mean, there's tons and tons of patterns we do. So if there's not one that I've covered that you use or whatever, just drop us a line or a message, and we'll get back to you. Really.
Cool.
So straightforward. They can pay over the phone with your card, or if you want to pay PayPal, we do accept PayPal as well. So
cool.
Straightforward.
How long does the postage take at the minute?
Sore subject with the old Royal Mail at the minute. Well, it's weird because some stuff goes through really quick, and other stuff just seems to be put in the corner and forgotten about, and then all of a sudden they decide to deliver it like a week later or 2 weeks later, or whenever they feel like it or can get round to it, I think. So, I mean, you can't really, well, you moan, but you know, they're in the same scenario as everyone else with COVID and that. So I think the problem is not so much in the local depots. So like, say I send an order out and someone on eBay's like, I haven't received my order. And it's like, oh, a day late. So you get all the spiel due to the current blah, blah, blah. And it's like Groundhog Day. Every morning's like that. And you put the tracking number in and all this and all that. And you put, like, you know, the Royal Mail is struggling. Oh, well, I spoke to my postman and they're absolutely fine. You know, it's not the local post office. It's the massive sorting offices, the hubs, where obviously short-staffed, or I think can you imagine the excessive amount of extra orders they're getting now, where everyone, like myself, if they can't open the shop, so they've got to send it all online. So small packets and stuff like that, it's just mad. Absolute mad.
I think that's what we don't appreciate, because like you just said, as you said it kind of rung a bell with me, because we can't go shopping, everyone's ordering everything online.
Yeah.
And it must be overrunning the sorting offices, who, like you said, are probably short-staffed. Yeah. It's like, good example is I've started doing some YouTube videos on bait finesse system, which is fishing those small little plastic lures with very light line and light tackle. And the very first video, I broke the rod that I had, literally right at the beginning. So the guy who sold me the rod, Jamie Needham, who has his own little, his own sort of specialist online tackle shop, he located the tip section to replace it and posted it last Thursday by AM Express for Parcel Force. Mm-hmm. So I waited in Friday because it was meant to come Friday morning. Didn't get here till today, so bit frustrating.
They're not guaranteeing anything at the minute.
No.
You know, I send quite a lot with Parcel Force, and it's just you send in a 24-hour, and it's like fingers crossed.
Yeah. And it's frustrating because when you wait in and blah blah blah. But I suppose the end of the day is.
You ain't got to wait. What are you going to do? You've got waiting all day anyways.
Well, I waited.
I think that's the other thing is people are sat there like, should have been here today. I've been sat here the last 2 days.
I sat there for 5 hours on Friday watching the cricket and watching YouTube, and I thought this is bloody ridiculous.
Oh God, I bet you went to sleep. Cricket, God.
And then, there was some interesting parts, and it got very boring. And then this morning, I knew it was coming today, so I had to wait in again. And I think it was the case of, I didn't mind waiting one day, but having to do it again today, it was like, but it was okay, we got it. Yeah, and but the guy who sent me the tracking number, so I just kept updating the tracking
Yeah.
information.
Yeah.
But
Right.
I suppose you do get one or two people that they can't do that.
Well, the other thing as well with Royal Mail tracking is, you know, until they actually attempt to deliver it, the tracking doesn't change. So all it just says is dispatched.
Right.
And obviously people put the tracking in and go, well, this code must be wrong. It's just saying it's dispatched. No, the code's absolutely fine. It's Royal Mail haven't updated it again for the system. So once they actually put it through their system and dispatch it where they want it to go, that's when the next update comes through. And I even had one guy trying to tell me that the tracking number I give him was all wrong and it should have letters and all this and all that. I was like, just banging my head against a brick wall.
It's when you got to count to 10, isn't it? And
big breath.
Yeah, big inhalation. Okay, fishing wise, I haven't gone out either really. The local rivers are in flood again. So when do they get back in flood? Probably the weekend, was it? I can't remember now.
Yeah, I think it was Wednesday night we had a lot of rain, and then Thursday non-stop all day, didn't it? Yeah. All day Thursday.
Yeah.
And then Friday, basically all the water come from here, there, and everywhere and flooded, didn't it? So
that's it. Yes, right. Friday. Yeah, Friday, Saturday, it was really high again. Not as high as Christmas, but it was getting there. So it was like, oh, here we go again. And today is the first day the colours started to drop out a bit. But of course, tonight it's meant to rain again.
And all day tomorrow.
So
all day Wednesday.
So we'll be back to square one, probably Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But
we haven't had the wind, though, have we?
No.
Do you notice? As soon as you're not allowed to go fishing, there's no wind.
Yeah.
It's like all winter last year we fished, and all you got was wind.
Well, yesterday.
No.
I know a friend of ours, Cheesy Bob, was in the middle of March, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And he was fishing away, and it was a beautiful day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unreal, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think as soon as that sun goes in, it soon gets cold, though, doesn't it?
Yes. Yeah. But we've got to give it a go. So I'm going to try and nip out tomorrow, but I don't know if the rain is going to scupper my plans. But I'll just get up and see what's happening. And then I don't know if I'll be able to get out again until the weekend again because of the water coming through. But we shall see. Have you got any plans for this week, or are you just going to get your head down in the tackle shop?
Yeah, I think Wednesday, Thursday we've got some more fish coming. Can get on outside. Basically, up until 2:00 we're doing online orders and bits and bobs, and at the minute just trying to get stock and seeing when stuff's coming in and delivery dates and that side of things, and just making sure when it comes in that I'm going to get some, if you know what I mean. So I've been doing quite a lot of back orders and just checking when this and that's coming in, just so when it does go warm that hopefully we'll be able to get stuff. But just, I don't know, Groundhog Day, innit, for the last 2 weeks. Just get up, drive to work, pick some parcels, go home, watch football, get up, go to work.
Yeah.
It's a bit like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's one of them, mate. Yeah.
I think we could safely say that you guys aren't going to have any matches now, and then until.
I can't see there being another match on a river until June 16th.
No. I think you're right.
I can't see matches being on until at the earliest end of March, hopefully. But I don't know.
Get the vaccinations rolling out. It's going to make a difference, but
I still think this tier system thing is going to be in place when we do come out, isn't it? So we'll see. Just got to get on with it, haven't we?
That's right. Get on with it. Yeah. So really, sorry listeners, we can't really talk about anything fishing related that's accurate at the minute or up to date because there's not a lot going on. The floods have kind of knackered everything, and people are popping out to one or two venues that are more landlocked than others, and but there's not a lot going on, is there? I think that's the bottom line.
No, not a lot.
No, and you do need to stay local. That's really, really important. I think there's still I think the police were out in force in lots of areas of the country the last couple of weeks and stopping people, and fines were being issued, and rightly so, if people are being daft. So it's all about everyone just adhering to what's going on and, trying to get the best out of what is local. All right then, buddy, I suppose really we ought to start heading off to our sofas.
Yeah, must be nearly time,
It's
isn't
nearly
it?
kick-off time, yeah.
Oh, we're 1 minute over.
Are we? Oh my lord,
Yeah,
we got to go.
yeah.
Right, so
Yeah.
everybody, next week we'll have another short video from Alex from his tackle shop. Hope you've enjoyed the pole floats. I had a sneak preview. It wasn't half bad. It was all right.
No.
It was all right, yeah.
Yeah.
Tim did well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good old Tim.
Good old Tim. And next week we'll do something else on something relevant to fishing. Lord knows what, unless we can get out. We might go bite fishing, depending on conditions. But I'm afraid it is what it is at the minute, and we're just going to have to rely on Alex to take us on tours around his tackle shop with a camera or two. Thanks for your time tonight, buddy.
Yeah, and you, mate, and you. Good luck. Well, yeah.
I think, I don't know. I'm just going to have to watch the football and see what
Could be
happens.
asleep at half time.
Yeah,
Could be one of them, couldn't it?
It has got the potential to be really boring. Worse than the cricket.
Oh, yeah. Boring. Yeah.
And I think we're probably boring everybody listening as well. Okay, this has been Tales from the Tackle Shop, a Fenland Fishing TV production.